Devaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashta Praeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna, everyone, and just to say, I'm slightly embarrassed to speak here because yeah, I'm not the man of knowledge, and you all more advanced than me. But I took upon myself this duty to give a class, so I will try my best. So we are continuing reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 10, Deliverance of Yamala Arjuna trees, and today we read text 30 to 32. So I will read 30 and 31 and 32. We repeat. Yeah. Fameka sarva bhutanam dekash atmendriye shvaraha tam eva kalo bhagavan vishnur avyaya ishvaraha tamaham prakriti shukshma rajasattva tamo mai tam eva purusho dyakshah sarva kshetra vikaravit. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the controller of everything. The body, life, ego, and senses of every living entity are your own self. You are the Supreme Person, Vishnu, the imperishable controller. You are the time factor, the immediate cause, and you are material nature, consisting of the three modes, passion, goodness, and ignorance. You are the original cause of this material manifestation. You are the super soul, and therefore you know everything within the core of the heart of every living entity. Purport. Shripad Madhvacharya has quoted from the Vamana Purana as follows. Rupyatvat tu jagadrupam Vishnu Shakshat Sukhatmakam Nitya Purnam Samudishtam Svarupam Paramatmanaha. Text 32. Griyamanaistvamagrayo Vikrai prakritar gunai Vikrair prakritar gunai Kondiharhati vigyatum Raksidam guna sambrita Griyamanaistvamagrayo Vikrai prakrita gunai Kondiharhati vigyatum Raksidam guna sambrita Griyamanaistvam agrayo Vikrai prakritai gunai Kondiharhati vigyatum Raksidam guna sambrita. Griyamanaistvamagrayo Rati Vigyatum Aksya Guna Samrita Yamanai Samagrayo Hare Prakritar Gunai Konidharvati Vigyatum Kasidam Guna Samrita Dhamaistva Gunai Himarati Vigyatum Kasidam Guna Samrita Grihamane Magrayo Vikare Prakrita Gunai Konyarati Vigyatum Raksidam Guna Samrita. Okay, so word for word translation. Griyamanai, accepting the body made of material nature as existing, accepting the body made of material nature as existing at the present moment because of being visible. Tvam, you, Agrayaha, not confined in a body made of material nature. Vikarai, agitated by the mind. Prakritai Gunai, by the material modes of nature. Sattvaguna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna. Ka, who is there? Nu, after that. Iha, in this material world. Arhati, who deserves. Vigyatum, to know. Praksidam, that which existed before the creation. Guna Samvrita, because of being covered by the material qualities. O Lord, you exist before the creation. Therefore, who, trapped by a body of material qualities in this material world, can understand you? Purport. As it is said, Ata Shri Krishna Namadi Nabavet Graya Mindriyai Sevam Mukhes Hi Jivado Svayam Eva Spurati Adaha Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-234. Krishna's name, attributes and form are absolute truth, existing before the creation. Therefore, how can those who are created, that is, those entrapped in bodies created of material elements, understand Krishna perfectly? This is not possible. But Sevan Mukhe Hi Jivado Svayam Eva Spurati Adaha, Krishna reveals himself to those engaged in devotional service. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 18.15 by the Lord himself. Oh, this is actually 18.55. Bhakti Mama Bijanati. Even the descriptions of Krishna in Srimad Bhagavatam are sometimes misunderstood by less intelligent men with a poor fund of knowledge. Therefore, the best course by which to know him is to engage oneself in pure devotional activities. The more one advances in devotional activities, the more one can understand him as he is. If from the material platform one could understand Krishna, then, since Krishna is everything, Sarvan Kalvidam Brahma, one could understand Krishna by seeing anything within this material world. But that is not possible. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadavyakthamurtina machtani sarva bhutani nachaham te teshvavashtitaha. Bhagavad Gita 9.4. Everything is resting on Krishna and everything is Krishna, but this is not to be realized by persons on the material platform. Om Agyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurvanvitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Udapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavascha Shri Rupam Sagrajatan Sagarana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagarana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Sha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopitka Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshvari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatarubhya Chakri Pasindu Vyavecha Padyan Bhavane Bhyo Vaishnave Bhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So just to read the verse one more time. Griyamanai stvam agrayo vikrai prakrita gunai koninharati vigyatum praksidam guna samvritaha. O Lord, you exist before the creation. Therefore, who trod by a body of material qualities in this material world can understand you? So, yeah, as you know, and it was spoken the days before, this pastime of actually Nalakuvara and Manigriva, who were delivered, who actually turned because of their severe offense to Narada Muni. They were turned into two Arjuna trees, and then now being delivered and submitting actually prayers to Krishna. So we see here in this verse, purport is actually started by the verse Atashi Krishna Namadi, which actually means that in translation that our material senses cannot appreciate at all Krishna's holy name, form, qualities, and pastimes. And when actually conditioned soul, spirit soul, is awakened to Krishna consciousness and renders service unto Krishna, renders service here by chanting the holy name and taste the remnants of Lord's food, then Jiva's sense is actually purified. The tongue is purified, and one gradually gets to understand who Krishna really is. So, actually, very interesting. What I will try to say in next few minutes is that how actually by reading this we can understand that first we can understand our position, which is we are conditioned living entities and we don't have any attraction to Krishna. We are actually normally born without any attraction to Krishna. We are generally in Kali Yuga born as like very degraded creatures. But okay, out of thousands of those degraded creatures, there's some selection who usually assembles in temples of Krishna and established in modern days by Srila Prabhupada. And so we now attempt to serve Krishna by our senses. So what we normally do is, we try to actually engage tongue in chanting the holy name. But we can say, if we really want to be honest, that we don't really have attraction for the holy names. And that's what actually Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exemplifies by inaugurating Sankirtan movement. And in Shikshashtakam he says, Nam Namakari Bahudani Jasarva Shaktish Tatrapita Niyamita Smaranena Kalaha Etadrishi Tava Kripam Bhagavan Namapi Durdaiva Midrisha Mihajani Nanuragaha. Oh my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benedictions to living beings, and thus you have thousands and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In those names you have invested all your transcendental energies, but they are not even hard and fast rule for chanting these holy names. But I am so unfortunate for not being attracted by these names. I have no attraction for them. And those are the words of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So how can we say, if we attempt to be honest at all, any of us, we have actually attraction for chanting the holy names of the Lord? And how can we say that? Even if we have. So actually okay, this may sound very like not optimistic, very pessimistic, yeah, to say that okay, we are Kali Yuga creatures and we are somehow condemned by being born in this degraded time, day and age, and now at the beginning of our Krishna consciousness we may say, oh, I just got no attraction for the holy names, so my future is very bleak. There's no hope for me. When Chaitanya didn't have, how do I have any attraction? But actually, the point is to engage senses of perception and working senses in the service of Krishna. And by engaging senses, then gradually they become purified, because anyway, material senses are, to say, we are endowed by these material senses, and if we use them just to pick some sensations from outside world and then use them just to survive, we cannot say we succeeded in this life. Everyone does it. Animals do the same. It's no big difference then between any animal crawling on the ground, trying to feed itself and procreate eventually. And we do the same, isn't it? When we observe the activities of general populace, when we go out to preach, then we see that actually general mass of people, they are clueless. They don't know that such opportunity is available. That just by chanting, engaging tongue, engaging working senses also in the service, senses actually eventually become purified, and Krishna accepts service from us. But then the point being that, well, it's not just enough to maybe mechanically do it. We have to really try to do it as we mean it. So, for example, one basic analogy may be that if we, for example, want to call a friend who is just few yards ahead of us, if we don't utter his name, we cannot expect friend will turn around and notice us. How Krishna will notice us if we do not utter his name? So that's why actually we have to engage tongue in glorifying Krishna, and it's not easy. That's why most of people don't do that. They have better things to do. So they think that they have much better things to do in life, like earning money, etc. And in the course of time, devotee also may a bit become callous on this kind of opportunity which is offered, because in the course of time we may just be comfortable in our service and not appreciate enough the opportunity which is offered, because, well, we said Kali Yuga, it's the most degraded age, but and Krishna is available in a very, to say, simplified manner. So when we study all our Shastra, then we see that process for self-realization in Satya Yuga, for example, was mystic yoga. And if you really study this mystic yoga process, of which we don't study that so thoroughly, but we have some information about the mystic yoga process. Even if someone does nowadays, what's nowadays considered yoga, it's still not easy, but not to say a real process of mystic yoga, or like in modern days we have, for example, we may study Yoga Sutras of Patanjali and see how actually it was very complicated to execute this process. So a mystic yogi would sit in the same position sometimes for thousands of years, and we know that from pages of Bhagavatam. Many examples, many great yogis who, for example, sat in the same position for thousands of years. and then concentration of life air, pranayama, withdrawal of the senses from all external sense objects, going inward, having meditation on Supreme, and finally that all leads to samadhi. It's a very complicated process. Then in Treta Yuga, the process for self-realization consists of yagyas, which are also very elaborate. So many mantras have to be uttered. I mean, just preparing a yagya pit or like location for yagya is complicated. We know that when we want to even do some yagyas nowadays, it's very action. It's not easy process. Yeah. And then very opulent deity worship, elaborate deity worship was in Dvapara Yuga. Finally, in Kali Yuga, which is the most degraded age, we have a very simple process, but because it's so simple, general mass of people may disregard it as a process at all. And we have that experience. I suppose in the land of piety in India, where you preach, I live in the land of Mlechas and Yavanas in London, and generally people are oblivious to all this, to any prospect of spiritual life. They are generally all oblivious, completely oblivious, because first, no one taught them any of it. From the birth onwards, no one. They never taught any spiritual practice or any higher principle. Was not imparted unto them by family, by society, by media, or by educational system, or whatever is left out of it. So general mass of people, they don't understand generally how fortunate we are in the age of Kali, because we have the ready process available, inaugurated by Lord Chaitanya, by which actually we can gradually purify senses, starting with the tongue, and then engage our working senses in service of the Lord, and doesn't really appear to be very complicated, yeah. But because it's very sublime, as Srila Prabhupada would like to say, it's the process is very sublime, so we can have to go deeper and deeper and make sure that we stay inspired on the path, that we don't actually become complacent because, it's so easy and I'm going to do my sadhana and more or less that's what I'm going to do. But not more than that. So, I mean, we should always remember that bhakti is a very precious gift, and we want to actually attain ultimate goal of life. So if all these people, they don't have information about Krishna, they work so hard for their little portion of enjoyment, or like for their what Christians would say daily bread, or maybe in India daily pakora or something like that, chapati. Well, it's not really a it's not really it's not really a bingo, yeah, like to eat chapati a day. It's like anyone can get it, but still we are so foolish and God forsaken that we do actually we work so hard for the chapati, yeah, or for daily bread, yeah. We work so hard for that. So when we observe actually how those that we want to preach to work hard just to survive in material world, generally, yeah, to survive, earn some money so they can survive, they can pay off their bills, and they can maybe eventually procreate if they are fortunate to stay together, especially if they're born in Western world. Actually, marriage in Western world is becoming like a rocket science, even marriage, just like hardly anyone survives more than a year. If I tell you this, I mean, you also sometimes may read in media, yeah? More than 50% in Western world, generally more than 50% divorce, like after a year or so. More than 50% of people, they marry. So it's like very unconducive atmosphere for practicing spiritual life, for surrendering to Krishna. But how can we do that? Sarva upadi vinirmuktam, tatparatveya nirmalam, rishikena rishikesa sevanam, bhakti ruchete. So, we know this verse for Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And bhakti or devotional service means that engagement of all our senses in the service of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the controller and proprietor of all the senses. So, when the spirit soul renders service unto the Supreme, then there are two side effects. First side effect is that one is freed from all material designations, and the second side effect is that one's senses are purified simply by being employed in the service of the Lord. So, and that's actually what Srila Prabhupada preached to us. And we have actually also, by practicing whatever we practice, we have evidence and experience that this actually does work. But shortcomings and misgivings are on our side, not on the side of Krishna. And we can see that sometimes devotees get disinspired in spiritual life. And why is that? Because simply we just, instead of giving everything or giving maximum, we tend to give minimum. And why is that? I mean, it's not easy to find the answer, because, well, my personal answer would be because school was boring. So in school you try to give minimum, isn't it? You pretend that you listen, and but you don't. And when the exam comes, like few days before, you try to study, and then you actually try just to give minimum so you pass. Yeah, it's like when you study also, it's the same thing. So we shouldn't carry that kind of impression into bhakti. We should actually understand, because Krishna is the wonderful, omniscient, all-knowing, and supreme person. And we see in today's verse also, it says that Krishna is a super soul, is mentioned also. It says he's super soul, so by being super soul, he knows better than us how do we feel about him and what we offer to him, and with what consciousness we offer to him, how we carry our offering in whatever form that may be edible, or maybe just a sound, or maybe our service may be just to drive at the time being, or whatever it is. But so we should actually always meditate on Krishna, and taking the instruction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, thinking ourselves lower than a straw in the street, have that mood of being completely hopeless and lost in this world, and actually pray that Krishna will actually hear us and reciprocate with us. Because just on the basis of our giving, or of our applying ourselves in our senses of perception, working senses, and also our mind and intelligence into the process of bhakti, on the basis of that intensity, Krishna will reciprocate. So say disproportionately, not proportionally, he's not going to reciprocate just according to our effort. He will do it multiple times in return. Generally, Prabhupada liked to say 1,000 times. If we make one step towards him, he will make 1,000 steps towards us. But still, again, sometimes this may not still be enough to motivate us in service. So looks like that we always need some, because that's how we used to. In Kali Yuga, we always used to some kind of new sensation. Yeah, that's why they invented TV, and that's why we have this kind of illusory expansion of social media, like in last couple of decades, especially, where people actually completely expose their private lives. like, I mean, publishing and exposing their, like exposing completely their private lives and in social media is something very important. And that actually makes people very restless and actually it determines the level of consciousness. Consciousness is strictly bodily consciousness, and even this creeps in the land of piety, land of Dharma, India. We see that also most of young people are generally oblivious to any spiritual message. But that shouldn't discourage us. Actually, it should make us happy, because we should always remember when we go to bed at night after having busy day in service to Krishna, how actually we are very fortunate, because imagine what does it feel like being on the other side of the front line, burdened by all these worldly problems and being implicated in them fully up to the neck, and just kind of retaining your life air and maybe some kind of fractions of sanity. That's very difficult, but we actually very favored because we sheltered in the temples around the world, and particularly this one is very amazing because I like to say Holy Dham is manifesting slowly in Salem, which maybe just a few decades back was insignificant Indian town, just industrial town, famous in mangoes, yes, Prabhu, famous in mangoes, and some maybe steel industry and who knows what. But anyway, even if you live in a more significant town like New York, for example, what's the place to be? What do you think? It's not really being on the street. It's horrible. It's very dense. Krishna, Temple of Krishna is the place to be, because he acts as a facility for us to offer our service, our loving service to Krishna. And by offering our loving service to Krishna, we actually can promote ourselves to our original position, which is being eternal servant of Krishna in spiritual world, which is forever freed from all miseries. And one of the verses that was also quoted today in purport is Bhakti mama vijanati yavan yashasmin tatvataha tato mam tatvato gyatva vishate tananantaram. One can know me as I am, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only through devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, by such devotion, then he can enter into the kingdom of God. That's what Krishna actually, at the end of Gita, Krishna promises to us, to his devotee. We have to become a devotee for real. And then there's no problem. We have to become devotee. And there is always space for complacency, or sometimes we feel discouraged for whatever reason. But we shouldn't expect perfection in our surroundings. Definitely, we should hold tight with devotees and preach the mystery. Be part of Sankirtan mission, because this is the most glorious mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And by being involved in the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we can actually fulfill ultimate goal of life. And in the meantime, even by material measurements or material parameters, our life will be very good, because it is already, isn't it? Yeah? Brahmacharis are generally healthy, in good consciousness, unlikely other people in material world, who actually struggle hard just for survival, and eventually situation in Kali Yuga will get only worse, So, I mean, in the rest of the world, and the golden age of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually on us. It's on us to manifest it. So how do we manifest it? We manifest it by, for example, here being an example, for example, manifesting this holy place, which should be like a very wonderful hub of preaching. It's very creative, looks beautiful, and Krishna will be in the center as it is already. And especially when everything is completed, then you can bring millions of people here and show them how Krishna is beautiful and how actually spiritual world is beautiful. And then eventually people may start developing this taste for what they already gained in material world. And that what's gained in material world is just abominable compared to a wealth of devotional service and bliss associated with it. And so reading these couple of verses today, we can also remember how sons of Kuvera also were intoxicated by wealth, though they are exceptional personalities, much more advanced than most of us, but still some little wealth can intoxicate anyone. And whatever wealth we can earn in this world, whatever it could be, properties and wealth and whatever else, is actually very pathetic compared to wealth of spiritual world, where every step is a dance and every word is a song. And actually, world which is composed of Chintamani gems and has Kalpavriksha trees which fulfill all desires. And actually our desires in spiritual world are actually just related to Krishna. They are not selfish. So we have to overcome this, to say, inherited material diagnosis here, and applying fully our senses, like more and more applying our senses in service. Remember this, that actually only by applying our senses in service of the Lord, our senses can be purified, and gradually we can start perceiving more and more Krishna, and He will be present in our lives. Because more we actually serve Him, more He manifests in our lives. And maybe we actually every morning worldwide in all these contemples we chant Shikshashtakam, and I would say for today, to concluding verse of Shikshashtakam, not concluding verse of Shikshashtakam, but one with which I would conclude is Na Danam, Na Janam, Na Sundarim, Kavitam, Vajagadisha Kamae, Mama Janmani Janmanishvare, Bhavatat Bhakti Rahaitu Gitvai. So Lord Chaitanya says, O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I desire any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service birth after birth. So I think that maybe verse would be very appropriate to conclude. We should actually desire devotional service, because compared to what we can gain in material world to the maximum, if we for example, if we imagine that we may attain something great in material world, whatever it is, measurable by material parameters, actually it's only like a broken glass in comparison to diamonds compared to devotional service. So like that, okay, I will conclude here, and if anyone wants to say anything, I'm happy to hear from you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yes, please.
That's the Lord's mercy that He comes as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and gives this process. So I just want to emphasize that you were saying how difficult it is, and we sometimes wonder, we're pessimistic that are we going to make any advancement, or will we make any advancement? But Lord Chaitanya is so merciful that if we apply ourselves to the process, then we will make advancement, and we will get the mercy of the Lord, and we will become Krishna conscious. So actually, we're very fortunate to take birth in Kali Yuga.
Yeah, that's true. We are very fortunate, but somehow we are unable to actually estimate our good fortune. But yeah, it's actually, the process is made so simple, and if you follow it and just actually distribute the holy name to humanity, then